On today's episode of the Real Recovery Podcast, episode 54.1, Julie, Peter, and Colette sit down for a check-in to discuss their powerful experience at Advocacy Day. From navigating political spaces for the first time to engaging with key legislative efforts for recovery support, they reflect on the importance of showing up, speaking out, and standing together. With real talk, heartfelt insights, and even a few laughs along the way, this check-in dives into what it means to fight for change in the recovery community. Join us as we unpack the impact of advocacy, the barriers that still exist, and the hope that keeps us moving forward.
Hi, welcome to the Real Recovery Podcast. This is Julie.
And Peter.
And Colette.
Yes, it's our voice.
We're giving you the full board of directors today.
The three power people behind the podcast.
I'll go with amigos. Three amigos.
Oh, three amigos or whatever.
Amigos is male, amigas is female.
We can just say amigas because of Peter.
Oh,
right?
Martha Stewart.
Power bottomed you. She just power bottomed you.
Oh, I didn't even put my headphones on. I'm so tired.
Peter says he's a...
HS.
Stop. Okay, we're going to have to start over because
Okay.
I'm not putting that in the podcast.
I can take it all the way through. And see, now you know how it feels when we didn't know we were getting recorded.
I'm going to tell you, Izzy said this is our best part when we just bullshit. He said he likes it the most. He might appreciate that. You never know.
Yeah, but it's going out to the world.
Yeah, I'm all for being open and honest, but maybe that's taking it just a little too far.
Okay, I take it back.
I'll just let it go, but I might just mute that little part out. And then everybody will be going, what the hell was he? What was it? What is it? What did he mute?
No, you know what, though? I've noticed is when I'm listening to the podcast, how seamless it is.
Oh,
The segue and I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say here.
when I cut things,
fluid.
Yes.
It's so interesting because of the history that I have in the old days, if you will, when we had tape, we had to splice things together. And the way I'm able just to select, oh, that word's not right. And you can't even tell. It's absolutely amazing.
It's pretty seamless.
Yeah.
And before you could say fuck, we can say fuck now.
There's a few episodes where probably nobody else but myself notices, and maybe Julie would notice if she really listened closely to it. Wait a minute, I thought I said this and this, because Alexa started talking, or a noisy car went by, or oh, shut up. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. See, that's what happens. There's a good demo right there, but I'm going to leave it in just for the heck of it, because this is a check-in.
And life happens, and we record from Studio H, Peter's house.
Exactly.
Yeah. And life happened when we went down to Advocacy Day, which is, I think, what we're going to talk about.
It is.
Yeah.
I think it's the second political thing I've done in my entire life. Vote.
And I used to do the AIDS walks and those kind of things,
Right.
To advocate for that. And I'm going to apologize up front. Advocacy is hard for me to say, so it's like when people get to the part
Anonymity and autonomous anonymity.
I've got those down, but for some reason advocacy is hard for me to say, so apologies.
Anonymity was hard for me. I told you it took a minute, and shout out to Pat O.D. who told me to call her Anna, and her last name was Nimity. So then I said Anna Nimity, and then I was able to merge both, but it took me a second.
I don't know about you guys, but when I first got sober at the club that I went to, not every meeting, but some of the meetings, it was out of the book. They did not let you read off the little cheat sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just give you the book, and you had to figure out where it was in the book, turn to the page. And when you're new, you're sweating bullets anyways, that you have to read it all, and your mind's all jumbled. I hated it. Oh my God, I hated it. When they come over with the book, I'd be like, oh, you're not going to make me read right out of the book.
That does sound scary, to be honest with you,
It's
as
a
a
little
newcomer.
intimidating.
And then you feel dopey when you were like, what page is it on? Because you should know that, right?
Well, of course, you're in East County. Don't
It's
you know
138.
everything? Don't you know everything?
I don't know if that's
funny.
right.
You both have been to that meeting. I've been there once recently in the last month with Jen, but it was different.
When I first went there, it was very soon after they had closed the coffee bar. And I don't know when you went there. There used to be a coffee bar. What I found interesting was that club and the URS club. I don't know about others because I didn't travel around to others, but they began to almost mimic a bar. Like
exactly.
They'd have the bar in the back, and that's where you'd go get soda and snacks or whatever, or coffee. But it was interesting how they were modeled after a bar.
There's the word I can't say. Particularly.
Particularly.
I have to think about it. But I think the URS more so than EACC.
Yeah. ECAC.
ECAC.
I know someone who went in there and they were like so confused because they thought it was a bar. They're like, they're having an AA meeting in a bar. They just like, how weird is that? It would be, wouldn't it? Oh yeah, we have our meetings in a bar.
I will say the one thing I liked about ECAC, and I've only been there once, was the bricks with the people's names on it. I thought that was cool as I wanted one with Duke. Like the Duke logo and my name.
You can still get one.
I know. But I saw the guys with the beavers, right? And then I saw somebody else and I was like, holy crap, is that cool? So shout out for the bricks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that building's been around for a long time.
Very long. Because when I was going there, it was like in the 90s. And they had the bricks back then too.
Mm-hmm.
And just about the same people that were there when I was there in the 90s are still there.
Yeah.
Like my first sponsor in East County just celebrated 50 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
we
awesome.
call him Railroad. He would railroad me into being a main speaker. The last time he did it to me was last year in Lincoln City. I was the main speaker at a speakers meeting.
I love that.
I'm much better. I used to get, even when I first started going to the lunch bunch, that soon, or that short period of time ago, which actually it's been now 3 years. But yeah, to have to do that. And now I'm just like, I'll just get up there. But I had to script it out and be like nervous for a whole week just before I go up there and speak. Weird how we get more and more comfortable over time.
Absolutely. So Advocacy Day.
Yes.
So for our listeners that are not here in Portland or that don't know about it, it is a day where people in recovery, and a lot of recovery, I would say institutions, and get together down in Salem, and they have meetings with the state representatives, the senators, and tell them about recovery. Peter's just blinging over here.
Yeah, being a real good audio technician.
And they petition or support or speak about what is needed to help Oregon, who is number one in drug usage and last in treatment facilities, which is very serious. You know what really hit me too was when the guy, Rob Nose, I believe it is, stood up and he was talking about when he worked for the DA's office and that the guy wanted to go to treatment. He didn't want to be released. He didn't want to use again. He didn't want to commit a new crime, but he would wait in jail to go to treatment. And the guy called him every day for 3.5 months. That's a long time to wait to go to treatment.
That's a long time. And that's actually, it's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
It really, that speaks to just like not enough resources. It speaks to just cast aside the drug addict who wants help and has to wait that long, have that kind of journey.
Yeah. The other thing is that those links that are missing from getting into recovery and then being able to be back out in the world.
Housing, a foundation,
yeah,
follow-up services. It's not just enough just to go through treatment. A friend of mine says that treatment doesn't work, and I don't believe that to be true. Treatment will get you clean. It just won't keep you clean necessarily.
Right.
You have to have, I think, in my opinion, I know there's special people that can just go to treatment and it works, but in my opinion, like Colette's meeting, you have to have a bridge to the foundation. And for me, and I'm only speaking for me, I have to stay connected. And it's not about using even, like, my brain has to stay connected in that recovery state as well.
Everyone's different and everybody has their different recovery. It's just like one shoe doesn't fit everybody. But to be able to just have that opportunity there. So if you are someone who requires that bridge or that next step, I know they're opening up a center. I mentioned this to Julie the other day, and it's had a lot of pushback and stuff, but it's Burnside and 13th, I think. And it's Oregon Concerns, I think, is the group that's behind it, that's funding it. And it'll have medical staff in the bottom. And I think it's got, I want to say 70, but maybe it's less. I can't remember exactly the number of rooms, but it's, again, that bridge to some people get out of treatment and they still need that assistance.
For me, what happened for me was that I recognized that I went to outpatient and I went 5 days a week, 5.5 hours a day for 6.5 months. And I knew that there would come a time when I would graduate from treatment. And I was so afraid of not having any kind of support after I graduated from treatment. That's why the meeting that I do now is getting people who are either inpatient or fairly new to recovery crossed over into doing some type of 12-step program, AA, NA, elemental PA. You guys know I always say that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's just to be able to have that in place and become part of a routine, I think is so important.
And where you come out to in your foundation, I'm so glad you got your new apartment from where you were, because it would have been easy for you to be in the environment. Right. I had to go to Beaverton. Okay, that was you moving to the mansion. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I had to be in Beaverton because I didn't know anyone in Beaverton. I didn't hang out with anybody in Beaverton. I didn't use drugs in Beaverton because I was more scared of my mom than the police. For real. Everything I did was in Portland, and I didn't want to be in Portland. So that was like moving to the mansion and being away from it. But your environment when you got sober,
5 months before I moved, I was in recovery for 5 months in a crack-infested, horrific neighborhood.
For listeners who think that's an understatement, because I did, okay, until I took her home from a meeting. It was like New Jack City, the movie, where they are outside selling drugs and hitting a lick on the corner. It was 100% like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And I've been in that environment, but never lived in that environment. And I was like, whoa. And to get recovery and live there.
And treatment, to go back to the treatment part, treatment does work. I think it gives you a lot of intellectual knowledge about your disease, and it gives you a lot of like life skills. How do you live sober? A lot of people don't know how to do that because they're coming from under a bridge or from a tent. It does help intellectually. You get a lot of information that you can use to your advantage to turn your life around, but you don't graduate from recovery.
You don't.
Yeah.
And you're not recovered. I've heard that before.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. I'm not.
Yeah. I'm not either. Yeah. So Advocacy Day, Peter.
Yeah. 8 to 12 people die every day from addiction.
8 people from alcoholism and 4 from narcotics.
Yeah. 8
opiates,
to 12. That's
fentanyl.
every day.
Every single day.
So we were there to persuade or give some insight into why these initiatives are important and how they might benefit future people currently in recovery, and then future people who are coming into recovery. And as we just mentioned, there's not enough connections. So, you get incarcerated maybe, or pulled off the streets, however you get taken into the system, you're stuck going through whatever. I don't know exactly how it works with prison. If there's a recovery that you do in prison,
there generally is.
That then translates to recovery out of prison. I'm not sure how that bridge is, but I know from recovery, then after recovery, it's encouraged for a lot of people then to go to meetings. And so that's where your meeting is important. And then what do you need? What does everybody need? We need housing. We need jobs so we can support ourselves. And so that's what some of these bills that they're working on to give access to services was the HB 2270. And I can just tell you what the sum of it directs the Oregon Health Authority to increase by 30% the reimbursement rates for addiction medicine services. Then the second prong, recovery housing, which was HB 3146, which directs the Oregon Health Authority to administer a pilot program to provide low barrier emergency housing for houseless or unsafely housed individuals on waiting lists for residential substance use, disorder treatment, or withdrawal management programs. And that's like that facility that they're trying to open on Burnside that Oregon Concerns is behind. That would open up more of those transitional facilities, as I understand it. And then the third prong was to improve the system, which is the ADPC bill, HB 3321, which directs the Alcohol and Drug Policy Commission to develop and implement a primary prevention state strategy to prevent the onset of substance abuse. This is all like technical government speak, right? If you really want to know it, listen to our advocacy episode that was a while back, because Bo was so eloquent in stating everything, and I'm not. I'm just reading off the flyer that I have here. But those were the three prongs that we were there to advocate for.
You know what's cool about the Alcohol and Drug Commission? We now have our friend Mike Marshall. Works for that.
Oh, yes.
Works for that.
And I will say that was my first political anything. I'm not political at all. I vote. But from what I saw, the recovery community showed up and showed out.
Yes.
I believe that there was an impact that was made. And then to have Tina come out with the First Lady,
the governor.
Right, with her First Lady was very empowering, not just for the drug and alcohol community,
but for
LGBTQ.
Yes. Yeah,
and
exactly.
For Oregon. I'm going to tell you, you can worry about the government, right? And my sponsor tells me, did you vote? And I say yes. And he says, you can only do what you can do.
Right.
You can't change anything. But I will tell you how empowered I was for Oregon, and that some of my friends that have been really worried, who I'm talking about, I won't put their name out, though they've been on our podcast, have been worried about the government and stuff. I believe Oregon's okay. Okay. I believe Oregon is a special place to live. I believe that we are unique in a lot of our thought patterns, that Oregon's going to be okay. And seeing Tina Kotek come out with the First Lady, it soothed my soul. Mm-hmm. Okay. It made me feel like my people are going to be okay. Yes. And she gets it. And I will say, she looked so good in person compared to her mailbox mailers. I'm just being honest here. Okay. I'm just being honest. I was like, she looked younger in person, right? She looked amazing compared to the mailers. I'm just being honest. That's the first thing I thought.
Note to Kotek's
PR
people.
There you go.
Yeah. Got to see the Secret Service too. I want you to know that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well,
but it turned out to be a very empowering, and almost overwhelming for me a little bit.
Same, Colette.
In our world, I'll just say, and in our society, lead by example. People who are in the public eye, people in sports, which I don't know much about, but I know that they're held to a high standard, and our government officials, although not all of them adhere to that, they should really be in that. And that's what Tina does for me. She exemplifies, this is how we should be. This is what you should strive for, that type of leader.
And so she put her money where her mouth is.
And I felt that when she spoke, and when she was not just all reading off, she was engaged. She had some bullet points, but that's what we need to keep us on track. And she didn't just read off a script. She was like engaged, heartfelt. I really felt it was coming from her. And that also gave me a lot of joy to see that kind of leadership. All the legislators that also came out there, several of them really spoke off the cuff and from the heart. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated that. There were some who were very scripted, and it was like, I feel like when people speak from the heart, and even if they flub up a little bit or skip over things, which is what I do most of the time when I'm speaking from the heart, but I don't care because it's genuine. I'm getting I'm getting it from that person, and I'm getting to see how fully they are engaged in what they're saying and what their belief is in what they're saying. And I got that from Tina, and I got that from some of the other legislators that also spoke at the event.
I think for me, because I always have believed that addicts are not bad people trying to get good. Addicts and alcoholics are people who have a soul sickness. Mm-hmm. It's not a even political thing. People are powerless over their disease.
It's a human thing.
If you had cancer,
exactly,
would anybody hesitate to fund cancer research? No.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Perception.
The stigmatism that comes along
and perception.
With addiction. Yeah. And what's also
we do recover.
Yes.
Thank you, Skylar.
Thank you, Skylar.
What's also apparent is the stigmatism with recovery. It's where I didn't feel comfortable in my last employment, right? Being in recovery, where my employment before then, it was not a problem. Yo, boss, I'm going to a meeting. But there is a stigmatism behind it, because what you will do on drugs or under the influence is not what you will do clean and sober, right? Which is why
we're hearing that over and over in the people that we talked to. Just the episode that we just recorded, I think it was a week or two ago, Criminon. And he was saying, I did the drugs that took away my inhibitions that then allowed me to steal and thieve. And he didn't do it because he needed the stuff. It was the addiction of thieving, and that drug use took down those barriers, allowing him to go do those things.
I remember, I don't know how many times I was invisible drunk.
Yeah.
I'd be walking down the street. I'm invisible.
Oh, yeah. It's just amazing
I don't
how
think
different.
About breaking the law now.
And to me, it's just amazing how different a person under the influence of whatever it is and how they are after. People that you see, like I've said this before about you walk past someone, and I think I even have done it in the past where I've just walked over somebody on the street who's lying there and covered in newspapers and cardboard and whatever, and just and that was all the thought I had about them. And then as I got educated, which I think with everybody who is a minority, if people are educated about who they are, it opens up their minds, if they can open their minds. And to know that person that I saw years later could have been an Izzy who's leading a nonprofit, or could be John from Another Chance. I said that right.
Yes.
You did. You didn't call him Robert.
You did good.
That's an inside joke.
He sent an email. It was so funny. No, and it's Zane from Criminon. That man was so loving, so emotional about his child, and, telling us, I have 57 felonies. He beat John, with his 45. And again, who you are and who you grow into in recovery. I've seen so many amazing transformations. And I'm going to tell you, I'm guilty of being judgmental of the person and scared of the person just getting in recovery or still actively using. And I don't know if that's my own personal fear. I can be in fear of fear, but getting past that or growing in that area has been a huge awakening. The podcast has helped immensely.
For me, I have a history, unfortunately, of my two brothers being homeless. And I would go down once a week. I was working full time, pick them up, take them to Meyer Frank, get them an outfit with some shoes and some socks, give them $20, and then I'd do that every week because they were homeless on the street.
Right.
You're still doing that. You're taking so-and-so to Walmart to get them what they need. You're telling me this person needs a coat and I might be the person doing the transaction in the middle, but you're still that person. You are. You're the kindest person I know.
Well, and I like
Julie.
It's true.
I heard this from the interview that we did with John Morgan from Another Chance. And because I was thinking, God, you get some people there, it's like a revolving door. They go in, they go back out. They go in, they go back out. And how do you keep the faith? And how do you keep supporting that person every time they come back and not, because he's got that policy, no wrong door.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you don't have anything. You're welcome here and we'll take you in and we'll take you in again and again, because his belief is there'll be that moment that you do get it.
Another chance.
And if you didn't have that chance, that another chance, then maybe you would be lost. And who knows who the next person that walks through that door, maybe he's done it 5, 10, whatever many times, will get it and become a leader in our community or a leader in the state or whatever.
And the judge said to him, you deserve another chance. That's where he came up with the name. And I think he lives it more than some. You know what I'm saying? Some are political. I think that he is, I don't know how to explain it.
I can tell you 2 things from my experience with Another Chance and John Morgan. The first would be how I had been going there for 6 months when I found out that they don't accept my insurance. Mm-hmm. So I was scholarshiped in and didn't even know it. They weren't holding it over my head. Look, you're lucky to be here.
Right.
We're not getting paid for you to be here. I never knew I was on scholarship until I was switching insurances. And then the other thing that really stands out for me is their policy of what is a barrier to your recovery.
Yes.
And what does that look like? For me, my phone died. And they're like, of course, this is a barrier. This is part of your recovery. You have your sponsor. You need to talk to your sponsor.
Right.
You need to figure out a way to get to a meeting. So you have to use your phone. That same day, I had a new phone.
Well, and you were taking meetings on your phone and still do a lot.
But having that, what is the barrier? What is your barrier to your recovery? And that could be food, housing.
Yeah.
I've taken people there, not to just turn this into the Another Chance video. I've taken people from my home group, Lunch Bunch, and driven them over to Another Chance. And that night, they are in housing. They're enrolled in the treatment center, and their rent is paid for a couple of 3 months, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's available, but there isn't enough of it. And there's a lot of people that get missed. So.
Yeah. And I want to say something about Advocacy Day and Bo. Okay, Bo being the new executive director of Oregon Recovers.
Mm-hmm.
He has a way of just being there and equal with everyone. Not better than, not less than, right there with you. And I thought for this being the first one under his direction fully, what an amazing job. Like,
quite the
what
turnout.
An amazing job. And shout out to Pathfinders for the coffee, because it was cold as bejesus that morning.
Yeah.
And shout out to 4D, who gave us bomb lunch that we took home for dinner. What was the place we went for breakfast? Because that was amazing too.
Oh, Honey and Company.
Yes, Honey and Company.
Oh.
If you go to Salem, go there.
Yeah, that was amazing.
They're not promoting us in any way, but we love the food.
Yes, we love Honey and Company.
Promote them a little bit.
You know
Even
who I
just the
really
name.
that spoke to? I believe it's Travis Nelson.
I don't recall.
Trevor Nelson.
I think it was Trevor.
I voted for him. Oh my God. I don't want to mess up his name. If we have to Google it even, because first of all, he was the best dressed there by far, but he represents our community extremely well. And I believe he spoke straight from the heart and he was on the money. Peter's researching.
I'll look it up and I will I don't remember all the people who spoke, unfortunately. I was so engaged in the moment of
the sun was glorious. Like the sun, I felt like for the first one being canceled due to the snow, right?
Yeah.
The cold morning turned into the gorgeous afternoon. Remember, we went down there in fog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And I don't know. I just think that Oregon, you said this to me, Peter, a couple of years ago, and I believed you when I was talking about, the trailers in my neighborhood and how they depleted my soul every day. And you said, I think it's going to get better. It's just going to take a little time. And the trailers are gone and the little orange dividers are there, so I don't see it every morning.
Travis Nelson.
I was right. My man. Anyway, he was amazing, but I do think we're going to get better. I think there's the hope. And after Advocacy Day, I felt like there was more hope personally.
Yeah, for me, it was something I was just going to say. Oh, keep talking. Never mind.
She had a moment like I do.
I had a moment.
It's called sometimers. Sometimes you remember and sometimes you don't.
I have a lot of those then.
Like, I am the queen of it. But I did have hope. And I want to say, seeing Amanda there, and yes, I do want one of those raincoats, Amanda. Yeah, seeing like all the people from our podcast was crazy. Oh my God, we ran into podcast person after podcast person. And I felt, oh my God, these are our people. Yeah. And these are people that took time to come on our show. And it was just, there was a lot of hope there that day for me. And like I said, the only other time I've been political in my entire life is my daughter was in 4th grade. And they were going to get rid of PE, physical education. Mm-hmm. And she made me go stand on a corner in Beaverton with a sign so they didn't fire her basketball coach, her PE teacher. And she took my mom's voting card, my card, her dad's card, and made sure she voted for the bill that kept the physical education program. And I haven't been to any event like that since.
Yeah.
I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I have different people every week share at my newcomers meeting called Bridge to Recovery. One thing that I found is that when the people are ready, no matter where they are in the United States, the very first place that most people get to go to is they fly them into Portland. I found we had a guy on at the meeting last night, and he lived back east, and he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know where he was going to go, but they put him on a flight here and send him into inpatient for treatment. And then now he's a CADC 2 working at a thing. But a lot of people are getting shipped into Portland to go to treatment because of the way that we're set up. We're set up to handle that kind of influx. I think if you did that in New Jersey, it would just be a hot mess. But I think Portland has like a great foundation of getting people in and through the treatment system.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I feel
that they fly people in.
From talking to all the people we've talked to, I feel like the idea and the plan of how to do it is there.
Right.
Now it's just duplicating that into more resources.
That's the thing. Because FORA has some of the best rates in the best percentages in the nation, but they also have a detox center, mental health, family counseling,
inpatient
100% housing. They'll keep you in a week and a half later to make sure you're going into housing and you're just not released to your old neighborhood, your old dealer, and I think that's why they have.
Because not drinking and not using
is part of it.
This is going to sound, I don't know. Not drinking and not using is like the easiest part of being in recovery. The challenge comes when, where do I live? Does my dealer know where I'm at? Things like that, I think, are a bigger concern.
How am I going to make ends meet?
I survive after treatment. And I think that
and how do I live life on life's terms? Because there's a lot of things that hit people all the time.
I've been through harder shit in recovery than I did
It'd be so easy to grab that, whatever it is that make it all go away and make you feel good. But no, we know where that leads us. So yeah, to have the resources available, our toolbox.
And this is my only experience with treatment was going to Another Chance.
Girl, I was an expert. Okay. Well, I will say that, first of all, I successfully graduated them all.
Yeah.
Except for when I left CODA, because my lawyer said, you're going to prison. It doesn't matter if you're in treatment or not. That was our way of trying to avoid it. And when she said that, I left with 3 days left before I went to prison to get my stuff moved into a storage unit and stuff like that. And I was going to treatment for the wrong reasons. Yeah. I was literally going to not go to prison. But I will tell you, the last time I treatment, I say this all the time, and we had that lady here the other night that went to the same treatment center.
Yeah,
it was
Terry.
Terry. It was crazy. But the last time I went to treatment, I had been clean for 18 months prior to that. So I actually really wanted to be sober. Right. But she said, Julie, you need to find a meeting and stay there for the rest of your life. And for me, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I see the plan and the program here. It just needs to be duplicated. And the other thing I see here in Oregon and in the Portland area is they're attacking the root of addictions. I guess where I'm going with this is the youth. There's such a big
prevention aim
with 4D and
Harmony,
True Colors,
and Harmony and True Colors, and that to get at the beginning, at the early stages, and get them started on the right path is just like huge.
It's like Pathfinders. They have programs now for the kids who have parents incarcerated, that hopefully you're not duplicating that pattern and stuff. And I do think getting to it earlier helps you not get it lost or helps you deal with the trauma sooner. Mm-hmm. I know you and I both, trauma is real. Trauma is really real. And what is trauma to me might not be the same thing for you, Peter. Right. Like you said, you never felt comfortable early in your earlier age being gay.
Yeah.
I think that I overachieved in everything just to feel loved, because I didn't feel loved when I was little in the primary source. And like you drank to survive.
Right.
Just to survive.
If I hadn't drank at the early age of 6, I would probably be sitting in a psych unit today.
Or dead.
Rocking and drooling in some corner, sucking my thumb.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Yeah.
Let's not go to the suck your thumb thing. I sucked my thumb until I was 22. And you know what? Didn't know that is a sign of child abuse. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. And didn't know until I went to IOP and they said it. And I was like, God damn, I was a thumb sucker. Like they tried to get me to stop no matter what. And
no, that was a coping skill. It was a valuable coping skill.
It is. Mm-hmm. And didn't even know.
But to see the services in Portland addressing that in Oregon, I think that's so cool. And I think I think we will become a model for other states, maybe for the country. You know?
Yeah, what I would love to see is that dual diagnoses isn't so much of a niche. Like if everyone offered dual diagnoses, because sometimes alcohol or drug is just a symptom of other problem.
Did you hear that, Doyle? So I've been trying to get Doyle Smith on our show, and he's the head of the Dual Diagnosis Center.
I think that,
and does a lot of work with Fora. But I've been reaching out to him, and he'll be here eventually, I promise.
Yeah.
But
I look forward to talking to him about it, because I want to be educated.
Well, and I have a lot of dual diagnosis, not just one. And being diagnosed later, like at 56, did I medicate to deal with some of that? And I couldn't believe when I kept getting diagnosed. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And just, I think there's a lot of that needs to be added to everything. It's not just removing a drug.
So we're talking about advocacy, and I recently advocated for myself with my primary care physician. I was going through all of my diagnoses, and I went on there and I was like, why is PTSD not on my chart?
Girl.
And she's, you know what? You're right. You don't have that listed as it. I said, I have PTSD and I have CPTSD, which is continual post-traumatic. So not just one thing happened, like a series of a lot and series of too much happened.
That's the same.
But it wasn't on my medical record.
Wow.
I was never being treated for that.
Yeah. Wow. That's where supporting these bills, advocating. See, here I go.
Advocating. We'll say it for you every time. Advocate. We'll say it every time for you.
To get these bills passed and to get those funds in the right areas so that we can support the community. I think that's why I went down there.
Colette, I like what you just said. And I'm going to touch on that one time for just our listeners, right? You have to sometimes advocate for yourself. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, the first time I went through IOP was because the doctor made me, right? The second time I went, I knew I needed to go and I had to advocate for myself. And it was the second time that I got the mental health treatment. Mm. And that's what I needed more than just anxiety, depression. I needed the mental health. And I too was diagnosed with PSTDC. And if you're out there, just know that mental health is huge. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't have to be drug related. Okay. Sometimes it's just out there, and don't be ashamed to seek your help, because I feel for me, and I'm just going to say it for me, my mental health had to become the most important thing in my life, not my job, not my shoe collection. It really did. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be successful in any other area.
Yeah.
And taking that experience and applying it in your voting practices and who you support on any kind of political forum, taking your own experience and knowing what you need for yourself, advocating for yourself by, deciding who you're going to vote for.
I should say too, this was a day, so it was a way to highlight it, but this is ongoing. You can do this. And so we'll have links on the website. I have some links where you can actually click and put in your zip code, and then you can find out who your legislators and Senate representatives are. And it's so easy. I did it myself. You just click it. It's pre-filled out what the bills that we're trying to move forward with now that I talked about in my rude, uneducated way.
No, you're amazing.
But no, if you'll find those, and all you have to do is put in your email address and hit send, and that goes to the appropriate people. And then keep your eyes peeled. If you go to Oregon Recovers, they'll list the next time that they're going down there. They have all of the information.
Which, good luck to Tony, Jared, and Bo. They spoke to the legislature today. They went in there as a united front. And shout out to Jared for getting Native American. They have 4 new places they're opening in Oregon, not just in Portland. We talk about when we're at North Coast Roundup, right? All those little cities that don't have nothing, they're going there. And I think you can ask for a better usage of the opiate money to go to some of these little cities that don't get love.
If we're going to be number one in drug addiction and homelessness, as Oregonians, then we need to challenge our representatives to be number one in the cure or the solution to the
100%.
epidemic that we have going on right now. Just on our streets. Yeah. I could sit at a bus stop, and I did. I sat on the bus stop, and this woman put her jacket over her body and was smoking some kind of stinky something.
Probably fentanyl.
So if it's like that, just so blatantly out there, hopefully our representatives will make it blatantly out there for the solution.
Yeah.
Because we know the problem.
And for me, and this may relate to others out there, but the representatives and the government, it's like this blurry thing over there. Yeah, they do all this stuff for us, but it's hard to relate to them. I relate a lot more now because I've seen that some of them and met some of them. But if you're like that, then support the Tonys. Support the Bows, support the Jareds,
The Amandas.
support the Amandas. And we have all of those people on our site, and I'll try to get them into this post's blog as well, so it's easy for people to find them. You can send them emails, you can text them, however you want to do it. You can go meet them at their facilities, show them that you're listening about them, just to be known that people recognize that you're doing something means so much. I know it means so much to me when someone comes to me and says, gosh, your podcast really helped me through this hard time, or I really enjoyed this episode. Those kind of things are the fuel that keeps us going. And I know I can speak for those Bo's and Tony's and Amanda's and Jared's and Roberts, and I could go on and on in that same boat. Yeah.
Hearing that at Advocacy Day, having somebody come up to me that I don't know, okay, not just the ones I know, and telling me the podcast is fucking amazing and I don't know you, it's been a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it. It's been a lot of work this last year. And I'm so glad Colette is helping us more in a more active role.
This is my virgin podcast with you two.
Oh, check in. Yeah.
It's my first check-in.
Wow. I just popped my cherries of my
She's
wife
stuttering
from
now.
another life.
She's stuttering now.
Yeah. Look, I'm getting red in the face too. But it was amazing. And it was really cool. And then I won't mention their name, but having somebody come up that was on the podcast and mention that they reached out to somebody in their life that they hadn't because of the podcast was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I love this person. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cliche, but what we can't do alone, we can do together.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thank God.
But we could never do alone.
Never do alone. Yeah. We can
And
do
I always
together.
have that in there because I tried for a long time.
Oh,
Same.
yeah.
Same. I thought I like to control everything. That's why that's my favorite album. Seriously, I like to control when I go somewhere, when I'm getting out, that I have my own ride, that I'm controlling the situation. And I know, like you, but in a different way, it's just so that I'm safe. And not controlling things and giving in to recovery in a group and not doing it alone is so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's to this Advocacy Day. That was us coming together. It's a perfect example.
It was a great day, actually.
And I think that they said there was 250 people that were there in attendance, not including the people that spoke and the people that met with the different groups. Gosh, how incredible is that?
It's very empowering.
And
you take the shame out of addiction. Take the shame out of, and you have somebody's daughter, you have somebody's brother, you have somebody's mother. It's not a moral thing anymore.
Or a race thing.
Yeah,
or
it's not a moral or race
gender
thing or orientation thing. Addiction doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care where you come from. It will get you.
Yeah. And there are a lot of different addictions out there, and some are easy to blend into daily life, but they're all addictions. They're all something we're grasping for to
feel something.
Hide feelings or to feel feelings or whatever.
Well, I've heard people talk about the God-shaped hole.
The what?
The God-shaped hole. You're trying to fill that God-shaped hole with alcohol or drugs, and the only thing that fits in a God-sized hole is God.
Nice.
And I'm not religious at all, but I believe that to my core. I believe that. I was trying to smoke crack and drink alcohol and pop pills, thinking I was going to fill that hole when nothing can fit there but God.
And God can be anything to you, whatever it means to you, spirituality,
grandfather, the ocean,
whatever. But it's true.
There's a hole. There's a hole in there that we can't fill.
Yeah. I was trying to be a part of, and I didn't feel a part of. And so I turned to substances that helped me feel a part of. And I also there's shame in my past of who I was. And so I used the substances to hide that shame and to feel
Instant
a part
bravado.
of. And yeah, man, it's. Whew.
I want to tell
We're starting
you,
to get deep here.
I hadn't been to Salem for 31 years. Okay, never been to the Capitol. The last time I was in Salem, I really was in the Oregon Women's State Penitentiary. I was only there for 2 weeks before I went to boot camp. But going back there on a good note and sitting in front of the Capitol was a much better place
the front
to
seat.
be.
Yeah, in the front seat.
Was a much better place to be. And to end my part on a funny note, I will tell you that everything that's good for your whole is not good for your soul.
Gonna have to ponder that one.
Wow. I said that to your sponsor, and he said, "Girl, you get me."
Oh, Lord.
So anyway, I want to say thanks to Peter for having us over.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, Studio H is always open.
Thank you for dinner, Julie.
Yes, thank you for a wonderful meal and for the salad, Colette. And actually, for everything that we do, our listeners, we wouldn't have a show without listeners. So thank you all for listening. And
thanks to Advocacy Day
Yeah.
for the hope it gave me.
And for the people behind it, the Bows, the Pathfinders, the 4Ds, the Organ Recovers, for making it happen, for putting it all together. And that's no small feat. And then they had it all put together like 2 weeks, or was it 3 weweeks before? And they had to reschedule it because of this. So that was even more
Because of
on top
our
of
1 day of snow.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was like, I'm so glad I'm not one of those people organizing it. Because you got to get the time with the senators,
I have to tell you,
legislators,
though,
and
the sunny day was better. Sitting there in the sunshine, in the front row, like we said, was amazing.
yeah. it
And
was
I
a
learned
real
how to go
feel-good
live
day.
on Facebook. Okay.
Oh, my goodness. I had to be your arm, though.
Yeah, she did.
You were her selfie stick. Your arm was her
I was the
selfie
selfie
stick.
stick.
All
We'll
right.
get into that, Peter. Okay.
All right, guys. This is Peter with the Real Recovery Podcast with Julie.
Colette.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.